Mark spends most of his time teaching people and horses at clinics. That is how his year is divided up into how many clinics he can possibly fit into his very busy life. So we thought we'd dedicate this podcast just to shedding some light on what he does, because it's quite different from other trainers. Hello, welcome to Mark Langley's Horsemanship Podcast, a podcast helping people to understand their horses better, to provide solutions in a calm, connected way. I'm Jenny Langley.
And I'm Mark Langley.
Mark, you've just finished another 6-day intensive clinic, and these are our most popular clinics, but there's only room for 6 horses on them. So for those of you that haven't been to one of his 6-day clinics, we thought we would shed some light on what happens at them. Can you just run through what your aim is at any of your clinics, Mark? What is it you're trying to achieve when people bring their horse to you? What should they expect?
The biggest thing is it's the assessment of the horse, which is the first priority. And the similarity between this clinic and just about all the clinics I do is my first assessment is finding out, I guess, the red flags. So the, you know, people may come to a clinic thinking they've got a golden unicorn and they just want to, you know, do some more lovely things with their horse. But firstly, I try and find learning difficulties, troubles in the horses. And if they're just a simple, you know, easy young horse, then we just work on what's going to be the best training for them to develop into a really good horse for that person. So, but the assessment part is the biggest bit. And also in that assessment, and it happens over the course of the clinic as I'm trying to work out what that person can deal with themselves, you know, in the groundwork, in the riding, and work out a way that they can continue on working with that horse to their level of ability, as well as the horses. But at a 6-day clinic, I think I try and make shifts in the horses. You know, there are things that I'll do that maybe I won't expect the owner to do, but those things that just sort of make a shift in its mindset, so hopefully it carries through for when they take it home, and then they can do the things that they can do to keep it in the right mindset. But basically, it's finding the red flags and the troubles the horse has, and trying to identify the best way we can help that particular horse, take on information again and be in the environment that I guess that it's going to be with that person, and then get the people to understand, I guess, what that horse needs to be a soft horse that's comfortable in that particular environment, and, you know, feeling good and still connected to the owner and all that sort of stuff.
So it's very education based, but say someone brings a horse to you and they're like, you know, I just want a really safe horse I can go out trail riding on, but I don't really have any issues. And then they'll bring the horse into the arena. What are you sort of looking for?
Well, if they say I want a nice quiet trail horse, obviously I think about that and go, okay, what type of horse do they need? And if that horse comes in and, you know, at the end of the clinic, I might say to it, well, we've got this horse feeling really good, but I wouldn't take it out with more than 2 horses for a little while, because this horse might be an ex-race horse, and I think it's still got a 10-horse trigger, or, you know, too many horses milling around. It might still have a trigger in there that I'd feel unsafe if you just thought, righto, we've got this horse softer, it's working better. So I'll identify what makes that horse not be able to be a nice soft trail riding horse for that person. Try and see if we can adjust that so we can turn that horse into a nice soft trail riding horse. And if there's things in there that I think that it needs ongoing support from the owner, and it's not quite ready, then they have to know when they leave that, you know, if you keep going, there is a possibility that you can have your nice quiet trail riding horse, but you're going to have to address these things first and maybe put a bit more time into these areas. So when they leave, there might be certain areas I say, you really want to work on this, this and this, and then, you know, maybe get back to me, maybe whatever, you know, put question and answer, you know, the question and answer podcast is always a good way to kind of ask a question and get a bit of input. And, you know, we also, the videos that I do talkovers for people, you know, I can there's always a way that they can access me for a little bit of help.
And so it's a bit of reality that kicks in, isn't it? Because it's not like you can wave a magic wand on some of these horses and they miraculously become the perfect horse. Some horses are jolly hard to train, and it really isn't easy to get changes on them. And so people have to understand that there's an element of time and huge amounts of adjustment in their expectations sometimes.
So I guess if you just went to a 1 or 2 day clinic, like not that I do 1 day clinics, but if you just went and watched a video of somebody training, that's just to learn something, to gather information so you can do it for yourself. A 6 day clinic is so I can make a shift on the horse to help it get further in the right direction so it's easy for the owner to take on. So I will try the best to wave my magic wand of experience on those horses, and there are some big shifts that I do try to do and can make with horses that wouldn't have happened even on a long-term program if we didn't really shift the way they were thinking and seeing things, and then it does make it easier for the owner. But I can't wave the magic wand on the people either. Like, I'm a horse trainer and an educator of people, but I to give the person all those years of experience is also very hard. So that's why if I can make a reasonable shift on a horse and then give people chewable tools, the tools that they can chew and work with, then hopefully they can move forward. But yes, when someone brings a really troubled horse, I'll be honest with them and I'll say, if I was using the best of my ability, this is my to work with this horse. This is my I guess this is what I foresee. This is how long I think it might take.
And that's such interesting, helpful information to have anyway. Let's talk about one of the horses that was on the last clinic that you've just done. So a 6 day clinic, and so you're able to train these horses yourselves in that period of time. This was a horse that had quite a performance background in it. So some fast work going on. Can you just explain sort of some of the things that you did with that horse?
Okay, so she was a stock horse mare, but she was more of a blood horse. So what I mean by that is, if anyone's familiar with the Australian stock horses, they're a working breed of horse, and I won't go into a lot of detail, but they're a working breed of horse that was developed to do big days, be tough, durable, athletic, and have a good level of endurance for the Australian conditions. If anyone's been to Australia, it's still a small population with a vast amount of land, and there's some really big cattle stations out there, and so we needed a horse that can really cope with that. So the Australian stock horses, a lot of them do have a bit of blood horse in them, and that's the thoroughbred, and they can have those sort of hotter lines, and over the years people have bred quarter horse and different breeds through them, and you get the heavier stock horse breeds and the lighter ones, so a lot of stock horses are a fairly not all of them, but a lot of them can have linked to that fairly hot breed of horse. And so this mare is beautiful. I really, really liked her. She was a very, very cluey, very thoughtful mare, but she'd been cooked in a training. And what I mean by cooked is overloaded with pressure, super sensitive, super able. But as soon as you sort of do anything with her, she was just looking off into the distance and ready to go, like just not full adrenaline, but just a lot of worry and constantly destinating, and you just put a little feel of the legs on her, and she feels like she has to go at 100 miles an hour.
So I saw the first lesson that you did, and I saw that she was staring out of the arena, absolutely fixated on the arena. It's almost like you could wave a hand in front of her and you wouldn't got her to blink. So she felt like she was very, very disconnected from everything that was happening in the arena. She was blocking it out and just staring. And you could see those eyes that they were just a vacant body, and she was just looked like, she might have been a quiet horse you could jump on because she didn't move. And that was the thing, you were walking up to her and she literally didn't move. And that was wrong, wasn't it? Like, she wasn't able to. And one of the problems that her owner, the reason that he bought her, was that she had reared a little bit with him under saddle when he'd put pressure on the reins. She'd gone up. And so you very quickly showed that she couldn't move her back feet. And I remember watching her just stand there, and it's almost like she was glued. She just didn't know what to do with those back feet. And the third thing that I remember I noticed that you were pointing out in that very first assessment lesson was that when you did come at her at speed, maybe with your hand up in the air, she was really very frightened. Yeah. And then that you worked with that mare, and then I came in towards the end on the 5th day, and I watched the owner ride her in the outside arena, and a group of us were coming up and circling around her and coming in and out of her. And she stood there with a beautiful, soft eye that was listening to her owner on the back. He was under saddle. Her eyes were moving. She was processing everything. And it was different horse, absolutely different horse. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was quite. I sometimes forget how much I go through because I'm going through so much at every clinic with horses. But if I was to sort of address the main things that we started with her was, definitely the first thing was the gazing off, getting her a bit more present and letting go of that thought of gazing so she could just process the arena. But then I needed her to trust the information that we were going to be presenting with her, and I could see very quickly she was really frightened of or fearful of the energy that people present, and I could see that she's been worked in a way where she was sent around in circles, frightened of people energy. So one of the first lessons was let go of a thought, let go of the gaze. Another lesson was proprioception and her ability to not freeze. So if I waved a flag and the owner, like Jenny said, the owner, nearly flipped over on her because she just locked up and was going to rear over backwards when she went to move off when he mounted her. And that was another brace in itself in the reins. But the first big brace was an eye brace where when you put any stimulant in front of her, she'd just put her head up, freeze and lock up and preload the hindquarter. So I did a lesson where I was accessing the windows to her brain and her system, which is the eyes, and I was putting a bit of a worry in front of her. And people say, why do you worry a nervous horse? It's like, well, it's what a nervous horse does when it's worried. That's a problem that makes their life in danger and ours. So if I put a bit of worry up near her eyes and she does something that's more of a positive thing, then she becomes a lot safer, and then she learns to process the worry that's in front of her, because a lot of people are riding horses and they're fighting with the information that the horse is perceiving through its eyes all the time. So, and they might be trying to do something really nice with the reins and fix something, but the horse is processing the information that's coming out into its eyes poorly. We have to fix that. So when I put a bit of a spook up in her eyes, and you can see she was just kind of overloaded, but I kept doing that until she kind of softened and went, oh, well, I can back up and I can move around danger. And then all of a sudden she went, oh, gee, I'm not so threatened by these things because I can just move softly. If that thing's there, I'll just move over here. If it's there, I'll just back off a little. And then in that same session, it was quite interesting because I brought her over to a platform, and I was able to get her to step up on the platform one step at a time, and then put a little bit of a danger in front of her eyes. And then she just moved one step off the platform just to move away from the danger a little bit, so she could actually move onto a platform and have danger around her and move within the, I guess, confronting boundaries of danger and know where the platform was, where the edge was, which foot was on the platform. So she did an incredible job of being able to process not only the visual stimulants but what was underneath her. And that started to open up to really processing and thinking and using her body through choice, opposed through trying to be some guru through the reins to get her use her body better.
But to go from such a frightened mare that was carrying so much tension from the beginning to a horse that was so comfortable and so open to looking after her rider, they were your words, she will look after you. You could see that she was really careful about what she did under saddle with him. And I remember he was passing a tractor in a shed, and that was of some concern to her. Not a big concern, didn't cause any huge reactions, but for her, and it was really important that she was able to process that at her pace. Yes. So you guided him through literally step by step. Yeah, okay, she can take another step. Now she needs to stop. Now she needs to process. Now she's okay. Let's take her back again. Let's do it again. And you transitioned him from moving from outside of the arena to walking alongside the arena to the outside arena. A section of about 50 meters, and that whole period of time took about half an hour because you were guiding him so that he knew what to do when he got home, and when she went back into an anxious state, what she needed to bring her emotions back to a point where she was educatable and he could help her. And he really took it all on board because, you know, I think he could see that the education that you were giving was changing this mare enormously, really helpful stuff. And he even said, oh, you know, what you've been doing has taught him how he should be training his young horses, and he's noticed that they're coming along so much better as a result of what he's been doing. So it was really interesting that you're able to take the owner step by step as well to show, you know, what the limits are and when they need to pause, when they need to go. And all of that is just detail, isn't it? It's a really interesting psychological depth training. It's not about getting on their horse and racing it around in a you know, fast sort of canter circles. It's actually much slower so that you can get those, the owner and the people watching can see the horse, what they're thinking and processing.
Yeah, so it was interesting. The two things that I saw, the first one was, you know, teaching her to look after him and then teaching him to look after her. And, you know, there's a first part of the mounting process where I was getting on her and I acted like I didn't know how to ride and I couldn't remember if I was getting on or getting off, and I wasn't quite sure what was going on. But eventually I managed to climb up a board, and by the time I climbed up a board, I think she was thinking, geez, I've got to look after this bloke. He's not very good, and I think he's not very well, and maybe I'll just wait on him a little bit. But that was a whole process, and though I was joking along the way to make it a little bit humorous, it was actually a deliberate process of saying, you know, this is not what you think it is. I'm not some guru rider who's just going to put the spurs on and away you go, because I know what she's had. And then once she started to look after me a little bit, her thoughts stayed with me a little bit and waited for me. And it was interesting because the next stage, and this is when I eventually got him riding her, is she had tunnel vision. And that tunnel vision is because the horses push through their environment faster than they can process it. So then instead of being able to process, they just hook on into the future and get tunnel vision, and everything that goes past them like a blur. So he started to look after her by going, okay, as soon as we noticed something that took her eye, we said, just wait a second, let her have a look at it, show her that she can look at it in different ways and she can process it a little bit, let her decompress a little, and then let's go again. And then once she could realise she had time to process the other horses, because it was a you know, the place we were at had a lot of different horses in paddocks and different things and tractors and all sorts of stuff. So, and allowing her just to process those things really helped her know that she could, and then she could relax and go, oh, I've got room to think about my environment. And then the good thing about it was I noticed by the last session with him, her processing speed got a lot better because she trusted him. And you could see as he got on like he didn't know how to get on. He laid on it for a while and he sort of, and you'd see her just looking after him, and then she'd ride off a lot softer, and she started to manage herself. That was the best thing about it is at the end. We didn't get to canter work because I knew it was going to be too much, but she did some really nice trot work with him, and she really sort of, you know, was thinking back. And when he sort of stopped riding and got a bit sort of, you know, his seat sort of stopped riding a bit, she'd kind of come back with his seat and notice it. And then what was really good is every time he'd get off her, she'd swing around and she'd be like really saying hello to him, and she's really gentle with him. And that was really nice because instead of just gazing off into the distance going, oh, there's people around me. And the good thing was other people could come up to her and she's really interested in them. And so I think it was a new, for her especially, it's a new start to life because she was deep down. You can see it where Jenny and I were in the paddock doing a little video with her beside us. And you can see she actually kind of wanted to be around people and liked them. It's just that she didn't like pressure, didn't understand pressure enough. It made her frightened from the energy of people, from the reins. The reins really troubled her. You know, it took me a little while getting her just to trust the left and right rein. But when he rode the reins himself, and he could do some real nice things in those reins, and she'd just do it because she was so sensitive. She was really listening to the position of the rein instead of just going, oh, there's a rein, I've got to panic or I've got to stiffen up and turn around really fast. And so it was really nice. And that's the best thing about doing this job is the satisfaction of seeing these changes is great. And sometimes I think it's, you know, it's It's good for me because it kind of gives me the belief that, when it's all doom and gloom, because it's a hard job because you see a lot of trauma and stress, and you've got to sort of take that on board. But it gives me a positive feeling and a bit of drive to keep going with it and saying, well, no, there is a way we can help horses, and there is a way we can help people. And I think the more information, education out there, then I think so many horses are misrepresented, and it didn't need to be like that. That if we can represent them a bit better, then it's going to be good.
So I'm going to do a bit of a dig, Mark, for you while you're in the States, because Mark is over in the States teaching, and he is going to be teaching in Florida, Kentucky, Minnesota, Oregon, Idaho, and the Western States Horse Expo. So if you're in any of those areas, you'd like more details, jump onto our website, marklangley.com.au. You'll see the page on USA Clinics. All the details are there of where to go. Auditors are very welcome. And of course, the Western States Horse Expo, if you can get along to that, you'll be able to see a whole blast of other clinicians and educators for the whole 3 days. Mark will be teaching twice a day. So if you want to see the sort of things that he's doing with horses and the changes that he's making, be illuminated by the way that education can have such a positive effect on a horse, highly encourage you to go to any of those events. And for those of you listening, we hope that we can see you at a clinic, at some point. We always release the new clinics in September, so that is coming up. So that'll be for the next year coming. It's been great hearing a little bit from you, Mark, about your experience of behind the scenes and what the hard work that you put in to these clinics. And it is the huge days for you as you're teaching the horse and the person. And great appreciation. I think I speak from all the people that go to your clinics. Huge appreciation and gratitude that you've been able to be there and offer an alternative to be able to help all these horses. So thank you.
No, thank you. It's certainly, who knows where life is going to take us, but I certainly, once upon a time never thought I'd be doing this and be able to be such a, help so many people in different areas and horses, and I'm very grateful to be able to do it, and I still get a lot of enjoyment out of being able to do it, so it's wonderful.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like it, share it, or send us a comment. It all helps in reaching new ears and helping more horses. And if making a change in your horse appeals to you, Mark offers his direct support and a diverse learning platform. Head to marklangley.com.au and grab your 7-day free trial.